Hello and welcome to Bookish Brits. I'm Rex, and this month I'm going to be talking about horror. Sometime last year, a friend of mine, Kate, we were painting a room for her and she put on a podcast. So we started listening to the Magnus archive, and her and my friend Stephen have been really into it and said how great it was. And it was super compelling. And it's by a company called Quill, and it's written by a guy called Jonathan Sims. Completely obsessed, binge seasons 1 to 4. I haven't listened to season 5 yet because I kind of don't want it to end, but apparently there are more episodes coming. And it's very much in this episodic, every episode is like its own self-contained story, but it's part of a wider narrative. And if you haven't listened to it, go and listen to the Magnus archive. It's fantastic. Now, as I was getting upset that I was about to be finishing this off, my friend Stephen bought me the 2 books Jonathan Sims has written. So the first one, this is his debut novel, 13 Storeys, which is a play on words that I'll explain in a minute. And I haven't read this one yet, Family Business, so I'm looking forward to reading this one next. But let's talk about 13 Storeys. So just like the Magnus archive, a lot of this is split into individual stories that are part of a wider narrative. And you'll find this out, so this isn't a spoiler. The book is set in a building that is built in Lambeth in London. And it has 2 sides to the building. It's got like the social housing side and the luxury flat side, which is, it's done a lot in London. It's very rooted in reality in that respect. And that's probably where that ends, because what the individual stories do is pull together different residents or people who are connected to the building and the spooky experiences that they're all going through. And then it brings it together in this amazing crescendo. It is like the last 80 pages, I was like, I can't read this fast enough. So it's got real, like it starts off sort of little creepy. And then it's like, on a guitar string where you're just turning the machine head and the tension is winding tighter and tighter and tighter. That's exactly what this book does. And it's what the Magnus Archives does. So he is fantastic at creating tension. And so many different, varied, interesting characters. If you enjoy suspense and horror, 13 Storeys is perfect. Now, I eked this out because, again, I didn't want to rush it because I'd really gone crazy on the podcast and just listened to hours and hours and hours of it. So I was reading a story at a time. Then at the end, I had to quickly go back and refresh my memory, because when he brings all the characters together, I didn't remember everyone's detail of their individual story. So actually, don't do what I did. Read it in one go or quickly, or not with 7 other books, so that when it comes together, you can really throw yourself at it. But it got me thinking of another book as I was reading it. So there was a horror novel I read as a teenager that a school friend had lent me called Daemonic by Stephen Laws. And it's quite similar because that is also about a reclusive billionaire who builds a fortress called the Rock. And inside the building is like a labyrinth, and he summoned these people to come and meet him after he's been a recluse for 20 years. And then we have a series of sort of scenes or set pieces where horror happens. And it sort of really reminded me of that. So I might try and get a copy of Daemonic and read it again. But yeah, if you like horror, pick up 13 Storeys, give the Magnus archive a go, or tell me if you've read Daemonic by Stephen Laws, because I would really like a refresher. I remember really enjoying it at the time, but it being sort of like reading a horror movie, like a 50s B movie. And that was kind of a bit more fun. This is definitely a lot darker than that. Or if you have any horror recommendations that I might not have heard of, or a different author to try, please put it in the comments and let me know. I'll see you next month. Bye!